Hey, what is up, guys? Today's episode is brought to you by the incredible sponsors of the program, ChemicalFreeBody.com. If health and wellness is a priority for you, then check out the incredible products over at Chemical Free Body. Plant-based nutritional supplements from Super Greens, my favorite, with all the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients and micronutrients in just one single scoop. Toss it in your glass of water, your shake, your smoothie, however you want to do it. They also have other incredible products, gut detoxers, anti-inflammatories, immune boosters, and so much more. ChemicalFreeBody.com, and check out that promo code ItsMe, all one word, ItsMe, for discounts at your checkout. And look, we have so many different insurance policies in our life, and if the last couple years has taught you anything, it taught me that storable food needs to be on that list. Prepare with ItsMe.com, the incredible products over at My Patriot Supply. They have 4-week supply of food, 3-month supply, all products with up to a 25-year shelf life. Have the peace of mind, ladies and gentlemen, of having storable food and have that supply on deck. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And if you have, shaving needs like nice chrome domes like me, SkullShaver.com is a whole new concept in face and head shaving. The products offered over there include men's head shavers, face shavers, hair clippers, and trimmers. And ladies, we haven't forgot about you with the butterfly kiss. And we also have a large selection of accessories to make your life that much more simple. All of the shavers come with removable, washable blades made of premium Japanese stainless steel to ensure flawless results. It just makes it so much easier. You can get your shaving done anytime, anywhere, in or out of the shower. It gets no better. SkullShaver.com /discount/ItsMe. All of the links to these incredible products will be in the description of this episode. So without further delay, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the show.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
We were back in action, ladies and gentlemen. Looking forward to this conversation with this gentleman here. Mr. George Wise is joining us today. Man, 30, help me out, sir, over 30 plus years in the game, TV, film, advertising, communications, broadcasting. He has seen a little bit of it all throughout the years. I mean, you name it, he's done it. I mean, as a guy who worked in production myself, kind of, these way more established, but, kind of a jack of all trades. So now when he's in the world of kind of producing content for other people and things like that, he knows exactly what goes into it. And we're going to talk about how he got into the game, and most notably talk about his off air. Obviously, we had a really cool conversation about his network he's building to kind of network small businesses. So, George Wise, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fine, sir. Good day to you.
Well, good day to you, too, and thank you, obviously, for taking the time. I know you're a busy man, and, like I said, I graduated from Columbia College back in the day, film and video production, moved to St. Louis, I think it was 2005, and, just got into the mix of things, and you were obviously deeply entrenched in the game. And, it's kind of crazy because things have really changed as far as the production business here in St. Louis, but before we get to any of that, when did the bug bite you? And when did you get started, and especially how has the technology changed? I mean, you're still a young man, but through the digital world of production, everything has changed so exponentially. How'd you get into the game, and talk to us a little bit about how the technology has changed over these years?
Well, I got in this business back in the 80s. In 1986, I started a television station 3 days out of school. Began my career there as a master control operator, soaking up everything I could learn about television. And as my mother said to me as a small child, TV will be the end of you. And she was right. So I ended up working in television all these years. But I've also learned, my degree is in communications and marketing. But along the way, I have met a lot of interesting people that have done a lot of interesting things. And in my travels, when being a journalist and interviewing people, you're getting people at a specific point in their life, whether it's a crisis or a business opening or, something to do with, legal issues, covering a court case or something like that. So you're getting little slices of life from each of these little experiences, and you're able to cobble those things together and develop yourself as a person. Journalism's been very good to me. TV's been very good, albeit that the industry has changed and become somewhat of a hybrid with the advent of what we're even doing today. Who would imagine you'd be doing a Skype call or a phone call or a Zoom call with someone, and then that would be heard by the masses, not on a radio station, but outside in the realm of the internet.
Yes.
And so that brings us to today. I mean, we've gone into hyperdrive in the last 4 or 5 years in terms of technology, thanks to the iPhone and the Android technologies, all the open source code writing that's being done for video over the internet. So when you think about the 1980s, other than thinking about movies like Back to the Future or Terminator or some of these films that seem so ancient, the technologies that were used to create film in those days is way different as it is today.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interesting people to thank for the technologies in film and television. I could name several of them. Lucille Ball would be one for sure, introducing 3 cameras as a way to create a show and cost effectively back in the 50s. Then you go into hyperdrive now, and we're running around with little boxes and we're streaming video into the air going over the cellular. So it becomes an interesting thing with a baseline of the need to communicate, the need to, and I think what we have in such a discord of today with all of the polarization of politics and everything gets pulled in a direction and who's on what side, and who's right, who's wrong. We find ourselves in a position where we still have to connect and come up with a resolution that we have to work with one another.
Yeah.
Sadly, oftentimes there has to, and it seems like in the discourse, we're always going to the negative. It's so easy to tear something down.
Oh yeah.
Instead of build it up. And what I'm hoping to do with establishing the SBTV network is to establish a place where these businesses that have been riddled by COVID can communicate and utilize all the technologies that we now have at our hands and our fingertips, and also, with our computers. So again,
and not to interrupt you, because I think that it can't be emphasized enough what COVID did to small businesses. I mean, we get into all the other, mental health stuff, domestic, so many things were absolutely ravaged by COVID, but something huge was small businesses. And as we know, small business is the engine of our economies. And we often like to use these terms, think locally or think globally, act locally. There's no better way to act locally and strengthen your community than patronize and handle and help out small businesses. And I think it's really cool, like you mentioned, with the ubiquitous nature of the technology. We walk around with television studios in our pockets. And so, like you said, there's no shortage of ways to get the word out. So I think it's really, really cool because, lives were decimated. People who had generational wealth built up in their small business they wanted to hand down to their kids, they just can't. A lot of them couldn't. Many of billionaires were made during COVID, but a lot of the small folks got their stuff shut down and their lives completely turned upside down. So before you jump into it, I just wanted to emphasize that because I think it's really cool what you're doing, and I think it could be a very, very useful tool for businesses who are still struggling and trying to get back on their feet.
Yeah, if we go back, we rewind just a short time. We go back to February of 2020, and it's written in all sorts of articles that you can find on the internet.
Excuse me.
And some of which have stated as many as 3.3 million businesses were decimated.
Unbelievable.
So you think about that. You think about the families. You think about the individuals. You also think about the gig economy. Which is part and parcel of what I did for many years,
right?
Working as a freelance photographer and journalist, that work just vaporized. So and not to mention all the people that work in restaurants and everything else, the service industry. So, what we have also witnessed is what they're calling the Great Resignation. And that, I think, people have taken stock in their point of life where they've decided, hey, is this what I want to go back to? Is this what I want to be? And people are starting to find out that, hey, I can start a business, or I can work with someone else and we can conjointly put something together and make it work.
Yeah. And
it does give you a lot of time to think when you're sitting at home on your sofa and you're not going into your job and you're not doing your routine. How much time is spent literally driving to work, for example.
Yeah.
And time wasted not creating and not developing. That's what we are by nature. We're creators. We want to build, we want to build things. We want to participate in the excitement of life and the experience of other human beings. And so, not to get so granular on this, but
no.
The art of business and the art of retail and the successful aperture that people want is to live a good life and not to stress too hard and do what they enjoy.
Well, and speaking about that drive to work, I think a lot of people, especially if you're like in California or these places where you're stuck in traffic all day, you have that conversation with yourself driving to work. Is this what I want to be doing? But you just have to do it because you have to pay those gimmicks called bills. But I think COVID forced people into that position to really begin to make that decision of like, all right, is this what I want to keep doing?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And, there's a social responsibility as a business owner. People, they have a connection to their clients and their customers, and they want to be in the correct lane to receive that adoration of, hey, you built this, you designed this website, you do this for a company, that they need to be a responsible business owner. And what I'm hoping with the SBTV network is that we garner professionals that are in the industry. We become a think tank, an active live think tank that is active on all platforms, where people are interacting and discussing, ways to be better strategized in their market, and almost like an open source scenario where people are growing, even though they're growing in different directions. They're coming together with the common goal of success, and that's really what we talked about, the small business engine, which is running America, and that is what holds it together. And it's true in many, many countries, and I know you have a large audience in other countries as well. But if it isn't for the man that's providing the fruit, it's the little stand, and the guy that's driving the taxi, and the hotel owner, we don't have tourism. And I'm saying you can't go to Italy and experience that kind of thing, or you can't go to England and do certain things because there's no way to get there and communicate. So establishing a good rapport either with people in like industries or people that have the ability to incubate and understand that someone has a raw idea, but they need to be nurtured, is to really put these people right front and center. They want to do well for themselves, but they just need a little push, a hand up. And that's really what I'm hoping to do is to, put an environment together, a holistic environment that brings different societies together, different languages, different scenarios. Because, this is one little jewel in a universe. We don't know who else is there. We need to get along with each other so we can develop better as a society and coordinate better instead of tear it down.
Yeah. Which, like you said, is so easy to do. And like you said, every small business, serves a different function. But I think at the end of the day, like you said, success is the ultimate goal. And so, everyone's route might be different as they, strive to succeed in their small business. But I think it's a great idea for small businesses to network, to compare notes, even though the nature of their business might be different. People could learn from, different methodologies that one business might have that might serve, another person's business.
Well, and to that point, what I'm hoping to do is to get people to think outside of the box and find solutions to meet their customers so that they are in that position or an alternate position than they were before, based upon pressures of supply chain and competition and other things that might be out there, that they've got an open mind to receive a customer or a strain of business or a line of business in a better way. So, of course, brick and mortar is always good. That's what we want to, a lot of people want to go to the coffee shop or whatever and be in a place where they can congregate. But, we've got a tremendous amount of companies that have integrated these tremendous technologies of AI and you just look around you, all the different things that are, the robotics that are starting to come into even the home. They're talking about these little home robots that will do certain tasks. And I think we're living in a time now that was, what we would call George Jetson back in my day.
George Orwell, I think they call it now. It's
and I think you're probably closer there too, because of all of the nefarious ways technologies can be used.
Well, and let me ask you something to that point. With the expansion of, I'm from like the Quad Cities, and everybody knows what John Deere is, or even a lot of these Amazon factories. AI and robotics are taking over, and you have less and less human beings. You have more and more self-checkout at your Walmarts. Talk to us a little bit about that and how a lot of these jobs will never come back. So you'll always have restaurants and bartenders, but they're slowly being eked out by robotics and AI.
Well, and to tie back in what we said about the pandemic really put pressure on making those changes. And none of these, unfortunately, where you're putting things together necessarily with your hands in the majority of cases in the very near future, if not already, you look at motor vehicles, they're probably 90% are put together by. And so you look at the whole process of relearning or being open, and that's really what this network is about, is to seek out others that are trying to change not only their mindset, but their ability to earn money in a fashion that they can be comfortable with. I mean, there's often jobs out there where people can sit in front of a computer and they can make $30,000-$40,000 a year, and they are just making phone calls.
Yeah.
However, though, the aspiration to be your own business owner, to be in control of your destiny, that's in your DNA. I don't care who you are. It's going to come out in one way or another, and you're going to say, hey, I'm tired of doing this the way I've been doing for 20 years. I need to develop myself. And you will stop and either A, go back to school, or you'll get around like-minded people and say, hey, why don't we all just, go into business together?
Well, and speaking to that, it's something I think is very intimidating. My father is 78. He still has a flip phone. And so technology scares a lot of people. And you have a lot of these jobs that are going to become obsolete, and people are going to be, regardless of the age demographic, are going to be scared to retrain themselves as this huge paradigm shift takes place. And like anything else, not everybody necessarily is going to make it as they shift into this new, whatever we want to call it, the age of technology, which has been here for a long time. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think even with people trying to understand something like a small business network, who might have got let go from their job at 20 years, and their fear and trepidation of even tipping their toes in that water, kind of sell that network to them so it kind of eliminates some of their fear, if you don't mind.
Well, and that's, that steps back into the COVID fear too, because people being afraid to come to work and just do their job of answering a phone or whatever it might be. I think for those that are in the what I'm going to call the great resignation period, or the shock value left over from that 2 years of dilemma that we were in, is to really understand that we're all in this same boat. We are, every one of us, myself, you, all of us have been affected. And I think the fear factor should be turned, and same thing, fear, failure, loss of job should all be turned into a life experience that is positive. Yeah. Because think about it. If, Henry Ford didn't do what he did, and create a motor vehicle and get into the point of, hey, I got to get, creating here. I want to make something that's going to be making a difference. Or the guys that made the Harley Davidson motorcycle. I watched a documentary on that, and saw the resourcefulness of people that were shifted from either poverty driven to get out of poverty to make something different or better, and using their creative mind to make that success happen. So if there's fear in your heart about, oh, I'm not going to be able to go do this, or I can't run this computer, there are other things that you can focus on. I mean, you don't have to be a coder. You don't have to be somebody that's, as I just suggested, manufacturing cars and motorcycles. If you just want to start a business where, you're connecting people, this place, this small business network is going to be exactly that. Another analogy I'll give you, like the city that I'm in now, Waterloo, it has a sister city in Germany. And there's a lot of that kind of connectivity throughout the United States. I think Herman, Missouri is also another German state connected.
You in Waterloo, Iowa?
Waterloo, Illinois.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a Waterloo, Iowa, and I'm from Davenport, Iowa, and they have a sister German city called Kaiserslautern. So
yes. They have Schlickeis in the winter.
Yeah.
So that's the German term. But what I'm saying here is, if you even look at that primitive connection, that's been around as long as I've been alive.
For sure.
People from another country in another city, they're connecting on heritage. So in the way that this network is going to be built, it is going to be built by the people that participate. I mean, I'm going to create the engine, and I'm going to try to work with a lot of like-minded thinkers that want this kind of think tank, if you will, for business. Instead of having to watch a TV show for half an hour, you can pick up the phone, or you can get on the Facebook page, or you can post a video on the network, and you can start these conversations in an open way, so that whoever else is out there that may have already experienced the problems you're having, you can connect with them within a matter of minutes, instead of putting it up on a forum and then 2 months later somebody's like, well, hey, can you answer my question?
Yeah.
Well, no, I haven't been on my computer and been on that forum. So that's why I want to reach everyone in every way I possibly can. And that's why I thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, for sure.
This is a unique situation it's birthing itself as we're talking.
Well, and it's something I think, again, a lot of people can really benefit from. And that's a really good point you made about, necessity has always been the father of invention. Human beings are so very resourceful. And I mean, again, it's kind of us to make our way. But, with the technology being, again, so ubiquitous now, and there's so many different lanes. I talk to people about podcasts. There's an ocean of podcasts out there. But I'm not mad at that. There's an ocean of TV shows and movies, and some people like certain movies, some people don't like other movies. If you like blueberry muffins, there's a podcast out there for people who like blueberry muffins. And the free market gets to dictate. And again, like you said, so many businesses are going, I mean, yes, you have your brick and mortar, but some of them are also going digital. Like you said, where it's online shopping, buying all this stuff online. We saw, of course, with Amazon, there's some of the bigger companies, but everybody's buying stuff online.
Well, and specifically when you talk about Amazon, if you were paying attention to some of the market news, Amazon has actually bought MGM.
Oh, wow.
Which also Bally's is involved in that purchase. I think it was, if I recall this correctly, the actual purchase of it is enormous, and it affects a tremendous amount of employees. It affects a tremendous amount of business, and it's just something that is Amazon's a juggernaut. It's going to absorb tremendous things that you never imagined it could absorb. When you start thinking about having an inventory of something close to 22,000 films, they already have streaming services. Again, this will affect people's jobs, and people will either have to get retrained or find something else that they like to do. And I was just going to look at some stats here. And see. Hold on.
Well, again, and going back to what I was kind of saying, and I want to reiterate it really is up to all of us, regardless of your age, to embrace this paradigm shift and recognize there's nothing. It's almost like saying, I forget what it was. The officer maybe like, I can't wait for this internet fad to go away. It's not going away.
Right.
The certain jobs like we've talked about are not going to be here. So it's up to us to become resourceful like we've always been as human beings.
Yeah, I gave you the wrong dollar amount. It's $8.5 billion. Okay, it's $8.5 billion that they purchased, and you might want to edit that back in. And the fact is, we talk about things changing, and you're thinking, hey, I like my favorite James Bond movie. Well, how does that affect how the James Bond movies will be cast, how they'll be shot, and where they'll be streamed? And what does that mean for people like AT&T and other businesses like Warner and Disney and HBO and CNN and HDTV? The streaming business, in my opinion, it's headed for a disruptor, and a disruptor can be great and it can be good for people. We talked about the automation. You look around you, and every day these little drips happen. This company is bought and that company is bought. And then before you know it, you don't have 8-track tapes anymore. You don't have cassette decks. You don't have players. And then everything ends up in your cell phone. So,
and what are your thoughts on that? Not to get too deep in the weeds on this, but I think it was Colin Powell's son when he was head of the FCC. They changed the laws on how many companies can own how many other subsidiaries. So now we have like 3, 4, 5 companies owning all these different subsidiaries. Is that moving into monopolizing the market, antitrust kind of things, or is it just how do you feel?
I would have to say that, it is a free market. And, they can go in and they can spend their $85 billion, but now they have access to 4,000 films and, 17,000 TV episodes. So is it fair? Is it equitable? Is it the right thing?
I can just think of like Ronnie's Theater here in St. Louis, or just the theaters. If these guys start buying up all this stuff and everyone starts streaming, the smaller companies just can't really, they can't compete necessarily. It's great to have that option still, because I love going to movies, but these are just slowly going to be some of these things that fall to the wayside as these big behemoths grab up all these,
Well, and that's what the unfair thing is, and that's why I think as a business owner, and to wrangle this back into what we're saying about the network, is, not everybody watches as much and reads as much articles as I do regarding business. I look at I'm looking at the overall topography of where things are tilting and turning, and where I need to be, so I can be agile enough to approach the right customer, to do the right business where I can be profitable. And if that is doing everything that I have been doing of late, doing, SEO and marketing and digital content creation and television program editing and shooting, making TV commercials, fixing websites. These are all things that are necessary because everything is being jammed right into these devices that we're talking on.
Well, and it's like, I don't know if you've read Malcolm Gladwell's The Tipping Point. I think that's so very smart for what you're doing. You're not working with Betamax and VHS. You're immersing yourself in all the technology, all the news, so when it does shift, you are prepared for it. You're not a Johnny-come-lately, calling in the bomb squad after the bomb's already gone off. You were already prepared, and I think that's very, very smart.
Yeah, it's really, and that's what I hope this network will help to achieve is, let's sharpen our tools in our toolbox, and not only sharpen those tools in that toolbox, but hey, listen, you need a tool chest, and you need to know what to put in there. I'm not going to go on a camping trip without a sleeping bag.
Right.
I'm going to not have a map. I'm going to know where I'm going to go, where I'm going to stay, and then from there, how am I going to develop the idea into a success? Now, listen, I've had a lot of failures. Everybody's had failures. Everybody makes mistakes, but I'll tell you what, it builds character, and that is no joke. I think,
I'm sorry to keep interrupting, but the language we use, I don't like that word failure. I mean, I get what it is. It didn't quite go your way, but instead of looking at it as a failure or a mistake, I always try to look at it as an opportunity to learn, and clearly that's what you've done, and I think that's some of the difference-making elements that keep people still striving. If, oh man, it didn't go my way once or twice, I'm done because it didn't go my way, as opposed to like, all right, what do I need to do different? What do I need to adapt to and overcome this situation?
Right. I recently spoke to a business owner who, and this will go into what we're talking about the network, is, he's got a business, and it's a service business. I won't be specific because I don't want to necessarily or unnecessarily say the wrong thing, but he's pouring more of his awareness to his customers into just the website. Just do this, because he was told by someone, hey, you need to be first on Google. If you don't have social proof that you are providing something to your customer and or other potential customers, then what do you have? It's the same thing as if you and I have met for the first time. I mean, you'd heard about me and I heard about you, and hey, let's get together, let's talk. But the social proof is, okay, what are your experiences? You've been all over the place. You're from the Quad Cities there. You've seen a lot of stuff up there. There's a lot of really good thinkers up there in business, and there's people that do all sorts of things. And I've got so much going through my mind right now in terms of what I could say about the Quad Cities, but in terms of being a business owner and being a person that I can't stress it enough. If you're going to start a business or you're 1 or 2 years in, don't be like the guy that I just talked to about just pouring everything into one place, listening to one source. You have to have multiple sources of contact when it comes to your developing your business. This platform is going to allow that to happen. We'll be able to have, entertainment attorneys. We'll have all sorts of people, that will participate for the need to grow themselves individually, but to assist other people in doing just the same thing. And it'll be the biggest small town on the internet.
With that, I think again, it's such a great idea, and I think so many people can benefit from it. So, like you said, you're setting up the engine. What is kind of the next step for the consumer, somebody who wants to jump on the network to provide, like you said, just information on their business, videos, not let's say live stream, but just content? How do people go about providing content to the network?
Well, what we're doing right now, we have, if they type in sbtv.network, they will see us on Instagram. They'll see us on Facebook. The website will be coming up soon. Probably after this interview, we'll have it up and running in terms of informational stuff. And by that point, we'll try to have a portal or the ability for contributors. Obviously, they can friend the Facebook page and they'll be able to share posts there. And we'll be able to do things with our YouTube channel. We're also going to be, we also have an in-business integrated signage system that is developed, and I'll be rolling that out here in the next 2 months, where we'll actually be able to have other businesses promote one another in different places, either in the particular communities they live or in another city. So it'll be interesting how this will all come together. And I think there's so many different verticals. Obviously, those that are creating content, that's going to be huge. They're going to be part of this network as well. People that work on websites, they're going to be part of this. People that, financially support business, they'll be part of it. This will be an incubation zone. And like I said, the biggest small town on the internet. Love how that sounds. And the way they'll be able to get to us, obviously, initially will be the Facebook. They can get on there. They can like us on Instagram. And then we also started a Twitter. Now, of course, obviously, right now the audiences are very minuscule and tiny. But as soon as we get done with this interview, things will be blowing up, I'm sure, because of your audience. And so that's what I'm hopeful for. I'm really hopeful that the people that hear this will understand that this is to help them advance themselves.
Yeah.
It's working for the man.
Well, and again, you haven't kept, you're multidimensional with it. Like I said, so many small businesses are doing so many different so many different things. And this is, I'm just trying to stress, ladies and gentlemen, this is such a great resource for people. Even though your business might be different, you're all going through the same thing as far as trying to strive for success of your small business. And I think it's just going to be amazing for everybody to jump on and pick people's brain and really kind of see where they're going. Like I said, see what they can maybe be doing different. Success leaves clues, as Anthony Robbins said, and this is going to be a great resource for people to see what clues they've left to be successful.
Exactly, and the thing of it is too is there's so many. The internet is got so much fragmentation, and as you said, there's a sea of podcasts, there's a sea of all these different things. But what we want this network to be is a developer for not only the up and coming, but businesses that are looking to shift or maybe add a line or do something a little bit different, and then they are working with the experts that come in here and support the effort, the vision of what we're trying to do, and albeit each case would be different, and then the coordination between the different organizations would be on a case by case. We're not doing that, providing the platform, but what we're doing is making it a central point. A lot of people use LinkedIn, or they might do the YouTube, but they're not connected in one spot. They're not, they got to go to 5 different platforms. What I'm saying is you just type in sbtv.net. You're on the entire thing across the board.
One-stop shop, baby. One-stop shop.
And that's what we're really hoping for is to make it a community that is positive, and we stay away from all the negative that we hear every day, and we look to let people strive and make the money they need to make, and have the career they want to have.
Each one teach one, I like to say, man. I think, like you said, it's so easy to get caught up in the negative stuff, but again, especially in the world of small business, we have more in common than we do different. I mean, we're all trying to either get our businesses back, start a new business, and it's a tough road to navigate, especially coming off of COVID and everything. But I mean, there are success stories out there, and that's what's so cool with this, man. Everybody can kind of pick each other's brain and see what they did differently to navigate these treacherous waters.
A couple of things I'll just give, even if people are just listening to this. There's just 8 little quickies that I'll give them. They can spend their spare time doing market research. They can look for opportunities in their community to be successful as a small business or a provider. Above all, they need to write their business plan if they're just getting started. If they're going to be a brick and mortar, obviously picking their location or how they're going to conduct their business. They have to also have a business structure, because no bank is ever going to talk to anybody unless their business is structured. And in terms of just having the right name, I'll inspire people to just make sure when you name your business, it's the right thing. I had a client the other day used a really odd vernacular on the internet, and it costs a lot of money to try to get a vernacular versus maybe your own name. Some people have very unique last names and they're able to start a business. Obviously, you have to register it and then do your tax homework and all that stuff. But those are the 8 things I would just say, hey, if you're just thinking about getting started, start with that short list.
And even that, and I mean, even that can be intimidating to people. I don't know how to write a business plan. I don't know how to structure it. So please don't let that, ladies and gentlemen, be something that keeps you from engaging in building your small business. If you have questions about anything like that, I'm going to have a link to George's stuff, and even the network. When we post the link to the network, go on and ask people, how do I build a business plan? How do I do X, Y, Z? Because some of that legwork, even though, it's just a necessary evil, and you got to have it, especially if you're requiring some capital from a bank. Like George just said, they're going to, look at you super crazy if you don't have your paperwork right. So
right.
Don't let that intimidate you, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's a little stat, maybe a little inspiration for people. A small business with no employees, just an individual, can average an income of $40,000 or $46,000 or so. An average, small business owner that is out there, yielding, say, 70,000, because they got to pay taxes, of course. But there's quite a number of people throughout the United States that are individual business owners by themselves, providing a service or a product, and they are under $100,000 a year. So think of that. I'm sorry. I was just going to say, just because you are starting something, and it can be criticized, and people could say things about it. Oh, that's a bad idea. Why don't you just go back to your little job making minimum wage? Not that there's anything wrong with that. Or just go back to your job that you're not satisfied with, instead of doing what you want. And if you're able to, and most people live in their means under $100,000, and I know people also make more than that. But understand, if you're an individual and you want to do this, be self-inspired.
Well, and something that kind of helped inspire me, I'm pretty good friends with a couple stand-up comedians out in LA. And so as we've seen, the paradigm has shifted with radio and TV. Back in the day, it was like, hey, I want to do stand-up long enough so I can get a sitcom. And that was the template that they went after. But nowadays, they're not chasing TV. They're not chasing Hollywood. A lot of these guys are making so much money just from monetizing their podcast, but it also facilitates and help augment their road shows. Because if they've used their huge audience, hey, I'm going to be in Austin this week, I'm going to be in Boston next week, and it just helps pack them in. So they've basically, my point is, they've utilized this paradigm shift to be the masters of their own domain. Where they'll still kind of have a boss because they have sponsors, et cetera, they have to appease, but they're able to, like I said, be mostly the masters of their, captain of their own ship type thing. So
exactly, that's what I want to do. I mean, I know that there's people that are struggling. I have a friend of mine from college who's built a business, and he struggled at first, and then he found his niche, and now he's got a furniture store, and he's doing very well, and you might not think coming out of your old job you'd be selling furniture, but all of a sudden you find this knack to get in that vertical, and that's the vertical that you are most successful at. And I just think, after all the things I've been through in my whole life, jobs that I've had, everybody's experienced a layoff. Those aren't fun. Some people have experienced a business loss, which is tragic, which is in some cases no fault of their own, but that doesn't mean you can't get back out there and swing and try again, and get with like-minded people.
That's hugely important, man. I think that kind of law of attraction, getting with people who, like you said, are thinking like you, is very important. And you said, command your space. Don't be around people who are going to project their fears on you. Man, you can't open that thing, but it's my life dream. Man, you can't do that. Just don't let people do that. Find places like, what George has got going here with the network, and pick these people's brains and find out what they're doing. Because again, yes, some work needs to be put into it, and some work is going to be required, but you absolutely can do it, man. You absolutely can do it. And that's the other thing I think COVID taught people, like we kind of started out with, are you doing your best doing what you're doing? I'm not, you got to pay your bills and stuff, but, if you're not living your dream, man, it's not all of us can do it, but, do what you can to help live your dream. And again, going back to the original, I know we all have this think globally, act locally. There's nothing more locally supportive than supporting your small businesses. So I can't thank you enough for providing this resource. And this episode isn't going anywhere. It will be posted. If the link to the network, the website, the URL isn't up today, when he's got it ready, I will post it on there. And George, obviously you are welcome back anytime as this progresses, because I know this is going to be very beneficial to people, and it's going to grow.
Right. Yeah, and I'm thankful that you had us. And I will say this to you: maybe the next time we get together, I'll bring in another business expert with me that will be one of the contributors, and kind of flush out his career as a CEO of a major cable company. And he's written many books, and I'll definitely have him here with us, and we'll talk it through.
Well, that would be great. And not only from that end, I would love for somebody who's been on and benefited or used the network to come on and just relay their experience and how it helped them, or what adjustments maybe we can make to help benefit people more. But I would definitely love to get, the expert people who are trying to help us out, as well as testimonials of people who've utilized the network.
Yeah, it will be very interesting to see how this all comes out, and it will be growing organically as we go forward. And I feel like, the synergistic efforts just of everybody's, wanting to have that connection and wanting to grow and be successful, that will be literally the engine of the network. And, you might think, well, it sounds like a TV network, but no, it's a people network. It's the power of the individuals that make this thing work.
Like you said, it's the biggest small town there is. I like that.
Yeah. And I had mentioned to you earlier, the individual I had talked to you about, and you may be able to have edit this in, but he is, I wanted to get here real quick. Jackie Smith. I don't know if some people may know him as a football player, and a tight end for the St. Louis Cardinals here in St. Louis from many, many years ago. He has written a book and co-authored with another gentleman. Hopefully I could get maybe both of them on, if they're willing to discuss the network and what they talk about managing your business like you would manage a team, like a football team. And it's a really great perspective. There's a book I'll reference. It's called Execute Like a Pro. And people should take a listen to that, and or not a listen. I don't think he's got a podcast of it. It's just a book. But people should, get out there and try to get as many books they can read, anything like that. But Execute Like a Pro is one of those.
That would be great. That would be great, again, to get that perspective of somebody who's done it, who's utilized the tools to do it. And again, the testimonials of people who are in the process of doing it, because it's always good to hear inspirational stories of people who've done it. The things you're trying to implement, people who've actually done it. So, again, success leaves clues. So just follow those clues.
Yeah. And that's exactly, everybody's got their own story, and everybody's got their own ability to make that story a success. And it's all based on those choices. And it's not, it's not something that can't, how should I put it? It can't be done unless you do it, and to have the right people around you, success-minded people around you is what you're going to want.
Well, and I have to tell you, as someone who's, I don't know, had some, whatever, just that voice in your head of telling you can't do it. Once that flip gets switched, the foundation has to be the belief that you can do it. And then after that, everything else is beyond, it's possible. Believe me, man. I've seen it happen, and I've lived it, dude. I've definitely lived it. Some of the stuff I pinch myself. I'm like, did I just really talk to George Foreman? What was that? You know what I mean?
Well, and it's like you start living your life goal dreams of what you want to do as to be a success. You speak it out, and you then become it.
Yeah. But the foundation has to be the belief. I know it's hard sometimes because, going through life, we do, whether it's the people telling us or we have that voice in our head of talking us out of our dreams. Don't listen to that thing. Don't listen to your friends. You can do it, and you got to believe in yourself because I know, I believe in you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is what this thing's about is believing in one another and being able to support the efforts of others. I mean, I can't tell you. I'll tell you a couple of quick scenarios.
Go for it.
Here. So, and maybe you could put this in as we go. There was a young girl. I was working a news story one day, and it was a fire, and she was there. I think she was interning for one of the local radio stations or whatever. And she came over to me, and this is her making her action, wanting to see, how she might be able to get into TV. And I talked to her for a little bit. I told her what was, what I do and what's going on. And I need you to go ahead and call this person. And I said, here's her phone number. She's available, and she'll listen to what you need and see if she can help you. Well, sure enough, she ended up calling this news director, and that news director in turn put her to work. She worked locally for a number of years. Now she works in Washington, D.C. She's an executive producer at Al Jazeera, and she's very successful. And it's all based on that one tip, that one.
Yeah.
And, like I said, I did not know her. I only knew her of her tenacity and her ability to not be afraid and to get out there and make a choice and to do something that would make a difference in her life. And she did it. So that's one thing. I had also a young man, or not young anymore, it's 30 years later. I was aspiring to be a tennis player when I was young. And this boy that was probably 8-10 years old, while I was playing tennis, we would go out there every summer. My friend and I would play, and we'd play in tournaments and all this. And this young guy would always run balls for us. He'd pick balls up and throw them to us, and we'd serve them and play them out and stuff. And I had completely forgotten about him. I got a phone call about 3 months ago. And do you know, it chokes me up talking about it. He actually became a coach, and he had 12 different students go to Wimbledon and play in Wimbledon.
Wow.
And he told me, he said, you inspired me to stay with the game. And I'm just like, wow, that's deep.
That is deep, man.
It just was, and even talking about it right now, it gets me choked up because you honestly don't know who you were talking to in any scenario and how your impression will be left upon that person.
Yeah, that's so true, sir. I mean, I talk into this microphone. I've done different iterations of different podcasts, but during COVID, the conspiracy show I did with Pat Miletich, I just talk into this microphone to my friend or to my guest like yourself, and I don't get the ripple effect. But I'm telling you what, man, the messages I would get, it's humbling because you just don't realize the mark that you're leaving on people's life and the words that you say. I mean, it was just crazy how people just the things that they had said, how the show changed how they thought about this, or they were considering doing, you just never know, like you said, and the ripple effect is huge, but you have to first drop the rock in the pond. And again, that starts kind of going back to what we were saying about believing you can do it. And you just those are powerful stories, man. And those are not, they're not unique necessarily, because you just never know when a network or point in this direction or a hookup with this person or this person could change people's lives. It may not be overnight, but like you said, that ripple effect is real.
Yeah, it is real. And like I say, for somebody to come back and tell me, yeah, when I was a kid, you inspired me to stay in the sport of tennis and to teach people. And I taught many a tennis player all the way up through and including them playing in Wimbledon. I mean, think about it. That's a life goal. That's something and here, it's just amazing. So life is full of great surprises and a lot of fantastically positive things that you can't even imagine will be coming your way.
Well, they say about the lottery, you can't win if you don't play. So you got to get in the game, ladies and gentlemen. You got to get in the game.
Exactly. So no, I think that we have all got to do our best to try to help one another, and this network will do that, and hopefully it'll inspire somebody to really take hold and of not only their life situation, their business, or change somebody else's life and help them
For sure.
in a business or an effort to for a non-for-profit. And so, that is what it is, man. It's all about.
And we're all out here grinding. Don't think you're alone. Without struggle, there is no progress. And I can't thank you enough for providing this platform, because I think, again, I hate to keep sound like a broken record, but I think a lot of people are going to be able to benefit from this, George. So I'll be looking forward to getting you back and seeing how things are going. Is there any other social networking stuff you can throw out there where people could follow you, track you down, and what you're up to? You stay busy,
Right.
so.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on you there.
No, it's all right.
About where people can reach me. I think for right now, if they go to the Facebook, they friend the Facebook page, we have some limited content on there right now just to populate it. And if they can express to me, what they can contribute, I would add them as a person on the profile so they can contribute into the page so that it becomes much larger than myself, because this isn't about me. This is about those that need the help. So yeah, I would just go to sbtv.network on Facebook and on Instagram. You can start right there. And we do have a Twitter feed if you want to follow that. It doesn't have a lot of stuff on it either just yet, but in the next few days, months, and time ahead, it will have more.
Yeah, so don't be scared, ladies and gentlemen. This is just the infant stages of this. So just because you don't see 10 trillion likes or whatever, don't be afraid of it, because you guys, everyone who's listening who chooses to be a part of this, you're going to be a part of the growth of this.
Yeah, and that's really what I want it to be. I mean, if it needs to be organic, it needs to flow with what's going on. I'd like it to be kind of a heartbeat, if you will, of business, discussion and information, and people connecting, from various areas. People that do video production are connecting with the person that's got the gadget that they just built and they need to put a video together, or there's a whole new training seminar for HR generalists and specialists, or things like that that are very niche, but they don't have a platform in which to express it, or they're not sure. This is going to be the place. This is going to be the place for, it will be the biggest small town on the internet.
I love it, man.
Yeah, that'll be able to tap each other on the shoulder. Hey, you know anything about this? Can you help me with legal? Can you help me with, I want to do something with a television program. What about the FCC? What do you know? Where do I go? And you're not out there alone, because there's going to be people that'll see it that may have been retired from an organization and they want to help and be part of this. And I think it'll be really cool.
Yeah, the synergy that's going to come from this, that people that utilize this, I think they're going to be pleasantly surprised, because again, there's still going to be a lot of legwork people have to do, but this process, this platform, I think is going to help streamline a lot of that process. So again, George, I can't thank you enough for your time, and definitely looking forward to getting you back on, because I'm really, really excited about this. And thank you, brother.
Me too. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today. Peace out. Respect.